One of the definitions of a miracle is to achieve the impossible, to overcome incredible odds in order to succeed. We presented many of these stories on It's a Miracle, and they're always an inspiration. Perhaps none more so than the amazing story of Chris Wallace and his mother, Rita. The birth of a child is one of the most joyful, treasured moments in life. During the course of her pregnancy, Rita Wallace had felt her baby move, but never kick. And so when she went into delivery, Rita instinctively knew that something was wrong, and her joy turned to fear. After Rita woke from the anesthesia, her newborn son, Chris, was brought to her.
They brought him to me that morning.
Beautiful.
He was such a pretty little baby.
But when her doctor joined them, he confirmed her worst suspicions.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. Chris's condition.
The doctor informed Rita that her baby boy had been born with club feet.
Club feet basically are a condition when the feet are turned inward and they're almost rounded out on the ends. It's not a very pretty sight.
He told her they would have to perform surgery immediately, but even then not to get her hopes up. Her son might never be able to walk. The next day, the newborn infant underwent the first in a series of painful surgeries. His tiny, deformed feet were broken and then reset into a straighter position. Although there was no guarantee of a cure, Chris would have to endure this procedure once a year for the next 5 years. Several months later, Chris was fitted with a special brace that would force his feet into a more normal position.
And he would just be almost blue from pain, you know, holding this little breath. He would just scream most of the time.
Rita could not bear to watch her child suffer, so she took matters into her own hands. She removed Chris's leg brace and orthopedic shoes.
Even though I knew it was wrong to disobey doctor's orders, but there was a gut feeling that I knew this was something I had to do. I took the brace and hid him from him so he wouldn't see him anymore.
Still, Rita didn't want her son to grow up with deformed feet, so she tried a gentler approach to correcting the problem.
I would just start bending them and trying to make them go straight, you know, and I would talk to them and say, no, 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 little feet, you don't go this way. This is the way you're supposed to go, you know.
3 months later, Rita's decision to try her own home therapy paid off with a miracle.
I was folding clothes in front of the TV, and he pulled himself up. And he didn't walk, he ran.
Chris! Chris!
Immediately, I just started screaming.
Oh, thank you!
Right after Chris walked, I did something that's like a ritual with me. With all my children, I have done this. I would hold them up to the heavens and offer them to God. I could not believe it. I called my mother, I called everybody, I called the doctor. He said, bring him right in.
He actually ran. I mean, he actually ran across the room.
And I said, my baby can walk. He said, there's no way. And I set Chris down across the floor and he ran to me.
The doctor was amazed, but still not convinced that they should abandon traditional therapy.
He said, so Chris he needs those surgeries. And I said, okay, thank you, see you later. And that was it.
Rita continued her daily ritual massaging Chris's feet, and as he grew older, he wanted desperately to be like all the other kids he knew.
Come on, Mom, hurry up. I'm gonna miss the game.
And so in spite of his physical handicap, Chris chose to play sports.
He was kind of nurtured in sports, and once he started playing, there wasn't a sport that he played that he wasn't pretty doggone good at.
And not even the cruel remarks from other children about the funny way he ran could stop Chris from playing and winning. During his high school football career alone, Chris set 5 state records.
I say, Mom, Dad, you don't got to worry about me because I'm going to get a full ride scholarship. I don't even know where it came from saying full ride. I found out that you can go to college free for playing sports, and that was my goal.
Although Chris received a full scholarship from the University of Toledo, he had to prove his abilities all over again.
High school and college is different. And you know, when you come out here, you got to prove yourself. And I knew that it would be a learning process and I would have to endure some time. And I sat for 3 years.
And then in his senior year, Chris left the bench as starting quarterback. No one on his team knew the secret of his handicap, and still, he led them to a 4-0 record victory, passing for an amazing 1,075 yards with 8 touchdowns. Even his coach, Gary Pinkel, was impressed.
His first game he ever played was against Purdue a year ago, and he threw for like 3 touchdowns and 270 yards, and we upset them, and then he went on to play as good as any quarterback I've ever coached.
And his parents continue to be his strongest supporters.
It's hard for me to believe that he actually went through all this and doing what he's doing now. Just to see him play college ball is truly a miracle.
Chris had always been reluctant to talk about his condition, but with success came courage. And when a reporter asked Chris about being pigeon-toed, he set the record straight.
I mean, it's not pigeon-toed. The correct word for it or term is called club feet. It's a deformity of the feet. I really didn't plan on coming out with it, but it just happened, and I guess God made it that way. But the good thing is giving me to give the people who watches me tell this story that you can overcome the odds.
Chris knows that he owes his success to his mother's love and courage. And he's always willing to share the miracle she gave him with other young people.
I vowed to myself if I ever did get into a position that I would give kids some time. I would talk to kids. I would listen to them. I would listen to what they were trying to say, because you never know, 2 minutes could change a kid's life.
Okay, I'll see y'all later.
I feel that Chris is growing up to fulfill the promise that I made to God about if he would allow Chris to walk, that I would teach Chris of his ways and how to serve others, and Chris is doing that.
Thanks to a mother's undying faith in her son, Rita and Chris Wallace have shared in a miracle.